program that has an openly gay or lesbian coach or student athlete, is often seen as a risk to the program. They might even see themselves as a risk because of the threat, that they present in a theoretical threat that they might present in a sense to the program's reputation. And so, you even see examples of negative recruiting where, other coaches are trying to impugn the reputation of a coach, saying that the coach is a lesbian, or saying that she only recruits lesbians, that she might turn their daughter into a lesbian. Using the fears, the homophobic fears that we see to, steer recruits to different programs. And so, of course, coaches have to be extremely vigilant, because it's not just a coach who's openly gay who's at risk. It's any coach, it's any female coach that negative recruiting can be used on. And so it's going to affect women of all sexual orientations. And so there is a lot of fear from coaches of being labeled and facing the negative repercussions of that. But I think, the big thing is that when you're trying to recruit, when you're working with parents and student athletes, it's important to remind them that it's not a sexuality issue. That's not really what we're talking about. If you're thinking about the culture of your program, you want them to understand that you are an inclusive program, whether that's sexual orientation or gender or race or religion or class. Your program is built on inclusion and respect. And I think that if we can kind of, I don't mean to say deflect, in terms of ignore the issue, but to remind people that what we're trying to do is get the best performance. And we get the best performance by honoring everybody's backgrounds, no matter what that might be. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be personally accepting of homosexuality. It doesn't mean all your athletes have to be. But you are a program that's based on inclusion and respect. And I think that if you can turn it around to folks and try to remind them of those things, I think that can play a huge role in gaining, recruits' respect and the respect of parents. I mean, openness, integrity, self-respect, those are the things that are going to impress parents and recruits. And that's really where you want to focus it. It's not that it's going to be easy, and it's not that you might not have to do some convincing with departments and athletic directors to present it that way, but that's really how you're going to be most successful.
And do you think that's a fair response? Or I should say, that's the response that you recommend if someone directly asks that question. If, they're on a home visit and the parent says, what's your stance on gay players? But what if it doesn't come up? Would you encourage a coach to bring that up, regardless of their sexuality, regardless of the sexuality of their players, regardless of the recruit's sexuality? Is that something that, you encourage coaches to sort of put up front, regardless of the circumstances?
Well, that's a really tough question, because the reaction could vary for a lot of folks. Bringing it up could, target some fears in parents because of the way negative recruiting is often used, because of the things the media presents. But again, it's so important to be open and honest, that you lay out for parents and for student athletes or possible recruits, the culture of your program. And again, speaking of it in those terms, using those words that if you're going to be coming to the school, I'd like you to tell you a little bit about the culture of our program. Here are the things that we stand for. And inclusion and openness and respect, those are things that are just part of the whole culture package that a coach is providing. And so I think it's definitely reasonable to lay it out there, along with what your coaching philosophy is. A piece of my coaching philosophy is to create an inclusive and safe space. We're going to be a family, and that means that we're going to have lots of people from lots of different backgrounds, as a part of our team. and we're going to honor and respect each of them. And so I think it's important to lay that out and to use that language so that, again, I think because of the fears, because of the media, parents and recruits automatically, are kind of triggered almost a homophobic response where, again, couching it in that more inclusive nature of many different backgrounds, I think can be a good way to do it. And then you are approaching it right up front, right from the start, that this is the kind of program you plan on setting up.